with our fellow compatriots. So just as a notice, this meet is being recorded and we'll share it afterwards. Before I begin, just some bit of housekeeping rules. I want to ensure that there's minimal disruption. So I'm going to put everyone's mic on mute so that it doesn't interfere with the recording, especially for those that will be listening in after the recording is being done. So I have a very brief presentation that's going to last about 5-10 minutes. And what I want to do is just to ensure that, first of all, I really thank all of you for making out the time to be here. It is really, really something of note to state that it is often not the case that you get young people collaborating and trying to work together, especially in matters of the political arrangement of our country and how our country is being set up. And seeing this amount of enthusiasm from youths, young entrepreneurs, and progressive people, I honestly am convinced that at the end of this entire journey, to be something that is worthy of note, and also is something that would improve the state of our country for the better. So thank you and welcome everybody. As a way of introduction, my name is Chojo Adejo. I'm an entrepreneur and also the convener of the Vote for Peter Obi movement. Please note, Vote for Peter Obi. I'm being told there's also another movement called Vote Peter Obi, but they're entirely distinct in terms of its purpose and its own structure. The Vote for Peter Obi movement on its own is meant to be a non-partisan, self-sustaining movement, which is designed to actualize the vision of Peter Obi as president of Nigeria in 2023. And what this means in itself is that we're not here for the sake of party or party affiliations. It's not about the Labour Party or the APC or the PDP. It is simply about ensuring that we focus on the candidacy of individuals and then use the party structure, the party system as a means to actualizing the vision of our people. And so, as you're aware from the group, we had presented this agenda and there were very little or no objections as far as I remember. And we'll be going forward with this agenda. We have had the introduction meet and greet, which lasted for about 30 minutes from 7:30 to 7:55. And I'll proceed with each of the topics. But before I do, and I attack each of the agenda, speak about the candidacy of Peter Obi in itself and the reason why I believe that this is actually very important. I think you can summarize the Peter Obi agenda in one clause, which is basically from consumption to production, which he has basically stated over time. And for me personally, I believe that there needs to be a paradigm shift in our nation generally in terms of the leadership capabilities of our leaders. It needs to be focused on competence as opposed to any other frivolity, if you ask me. Nigeria is in a desperate need for a renaissance. And I truly believe that the candidate, Peter Obi, is, or at this moment in time, is the best person positioned that we can see visibly that can basically bring about this renaissance and the transformation we want in our country. If you're here, you must know one or two things about the candidacy of Peter Obi, and I've just made a brief link available to a short biography about the person of Peter Obi for your own consumption. I'd also do well to share this presentation after now, so in case there's one or two things here you want for your own personal notes, you can also have that as well. That being said, there are predominant problems when you talk about a candidate in Nigeria. One of those problems, or actually the problems that we see here are summed up in three parts, and it has to do with structure, money, and security. So structure in itself for me is basically with the understanding that for you to basically win elections in Nigeria, you need to have a structure. And the two dominant parties that have that structure is the PDP and the APC. The Labour Party, I have not really had anyone that has attested that the Labour Party has a strong structure. However, I think there are solutions to these three major problems. In the area of structure, I believe that you can have a coordinated or managed decentralization of a structured system in a manner where, I mean, you can see there's about 15 of us right now in this meeting. However, 15 of us can play a critical part in forming that structure and ensuring that that structure grows organically. We barely have about 6 to 9 months to pull this through. And I believe with subsequent groups also in information and also engaging in activities like this, it will be easy for that structure to be actualized and for it to be managed in a decentralized way. In the area of money and security, you know, I've not seen anyone that attests to the fact that you cannot, you don't need money to win Nigerian elections. You actually do need money, and a lot of it. And I know there's a lot of things going on around the conversation around finance for election, and I'm sure that the Labour Party also has its own beats. I'm sure the candidate also has his own beats. But at this time, I think everybody needs to rally around, and it needs to be a case where we are sourcing for funds creatively and not necessarily demanding funds from people in a manner that is not accountable or transparent. We will come to discuss this in our subsequent meetings as well. And ultimately, security. Security, not in the sense of what we see in terms of Boko Haram and all of that, but more towards security of the vote on the day of election. And when you understand that the election, the critical part of the election is actually in the polling units, what that means is that every young person that is going to vote on that day actually needs to be actively engaged in that polling unit to observe and also to record and to ultimately to document the things that happen there in the case of, let me say, post-election matters and all those other issues that we see in itself. In summary, I do believe that the solution to these problems is to have a decentralized system that is autonomous, but also having some level of control, sort of like a federated setup, and also to bring to the consciousness of the minds of people of the candidacy of Peter Obi. And I believe that that's something that everybody needs to advocate for as part of the movement. And so let's go directly to the agenda. The first thing is validating the Vote for Peter Obi movement. This evening, one of our colleagues sent me the link to a Twitter post, which had the contact details of some of the representatives of the party. I tried to reach out to the person for the Abuja region specifically because I am based in Abuja to know what the modalities are. There are different factional groups that we are seeing in support of the Peter Obi movement. However, there's a need for authenticity and for people to kind of like get endorsed or to get actual support from the party and to be recognized for that. I do believe that our own movement needs to go in that fashion. I haven't gotten any feedback so far from the people I've contacted. I think that the opportunity is also open for anyone that maybe might have one or two leadway in these areas to sort of like help us with this. So if you know a person or two that can help us to be validated and to work closely with the Labour Party as well as the team in support of the Peter Obi movement, please do well to make those introductions. When we get to the AOBs, we can also discuss that. The next part of that is organizational structure. Every organization will definitely need a structure, especially for something like this that needs to be autonomous. I have identified some components board because a lot of us haven't done this before. I think there needs to be some sort of advisory board that is able to educate us and give us some level of wisdom to do this. I know that contributions from everyone is vital, but there are people that have gone ahead to create movements and to do similar things in the past. Their wisdom will be beneficial so that we are not just working in a haphazard manner and just trying to basically provide whatever ideas we see, but ideas that are backed up by policies and basically have been tested and proven. I also do think that we need a management, an active management team. Now, I am just the convener of it, and the convener is just the person that rallies around to get the thing going, but I do not expect that I'll be the one sort of like managing the entire components of the movement in itself. And so there is a need to have a solid management team that is looking at the overall management of the Vote for Peter Obi movement. There's a need for directorates to ensure that we are supporting the card carrying, the PVC card carrying voters, and I've highlighted some 6 major areas in terms of general marketing, awareness, and publicity of the candidacy of Peter Obi. Also, in terms of community engagement, we need a directory that is directly engaging with the communities and also key decision makers in the communities. We need a directory that is focused on students. And the list that you see here is not just out of mind. It is focused based off of the reports from INEC. If you look at the INEC data, a ton of the people that have registered to vote are actually students, entrepreneurs, traders, business owners, women, housewives, etc. And that is where I believe that the focus should be. And so we need directories that are specifically focused on student engagement, entrepreneurs, traders, and business owners, are focused on getting women, minority groups, and people with disabilities, and also that are focused on getting volunteers for us to kind of like advance the movement. So volunteers in terms of regional volunteers, you know, Nigeria is divided into 6 geopolitical zones. Also volunteers in terms of the state level, the local government level, and the polling unit level. And ultimately a directory that is specific mandated to ensure that funding matters are taken care of. Beyond the people conversation, there's also the need for technology and data. we would not know if we're making progress unless we basically document what is being done. And that includes data of people that we are supporting, those that have PVCs, those that we need to constantly educate and speak with to get the movement going. And ultimately, a set of people, I think, for compliance and processes. Compliance in the sense that we cannot work in isolation. We are guided by laws and bylaws and the likes. I think that there's a need for us to also be sensitive to the times and to know that in matters like this, it is easy for people to point in directions of different support groups that maybe perhaps have gone outside the scope of engagement in terms of what is permitted legally. And ultimately, you'd see that there's a deliberate slide focused on funding, is because movements like this often die based off of a lack of fund. I would like a case where when we get to the discussion part, we also discuss the funding topic very specifically and ideas around how we can go about that. I have some ideas of my own, but it would be interesting to see what the House has to say regarding that. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. The floor basically is open for anyone to basically pick up from where I've stopped, and for us to have a discussion around all of the things I've mentioned and possibly more. I must thank you very much for your ears. It's been amazing having this presentation. Anyone is free to take it up from here by raising their hands or just unmuting themselves and speaking. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I want to point something out, Chijo. When you talked about structure, I was thinking that for the Peter Obi movement, like the party itself, the Labour Party, I don't know if they already have like existing like working places, like every geopolitical zone is supposed to have like the party working there, because if they're not picking a call, it's like a lost cause, because you have to be direct to the center. That's the only way whatever impact we're going to make will actually make sense. That it goes to the, that's where you talked about compliance and ensuring that we're doing the right thing. So I don't know if the party here, like I don't know if we can find like phone numbers or emails that has the Peter Obi movement and has their offices here, because I think every party has an office, even in the local government or state or something. So those people, we can be connected to them and we can let them know that we are working in line with what their goals are. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think you're saying that if the Labour Party in itself has like local government offices across
Yeah,
the country, and work
yeah.
in collaboration with them. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Like
I
outreach
do get that.
centers.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, see, no, so if you have an answer, please go ahead.
Okay, so the way I see this thing, right? I think I'll just comment on what Cynthia just said right now. The issue about structure, the Labour Party did not expect this to happen. So I feel they on their own are still kind of getting their act in order. So I would like to call for some kind of patience. The good thing is that there's still a lot of time for us to do things, you know. But even as that's happening, you know, the conversation keeps progressing basically. So I think what I would suggest is, if anybody sees any information online with regards to any of the contacts or anything, or if anybody can DM or message, you know, maybe the Twitter handle of Labour Party, just to ask for some of these kind of informations and whatnot, then we will now be able to get concrete information to about contacts and everything. Because for me, I also like the idea of us, you know, following through, knowing who is going to give us concrete information on what is happening, you know, so that we can also streamline our efforts along what the general effort is, you know, and then that way we're utilizing our energy and our funds in an efficient manner. So we'll just be patient a little bit. I'm pretty sure that things are going to start falling into place with time. There are a number of these kind of groups that are out there as well. So very soon, I'm sure things will start to balance out in a way. But I also sent a Twitter thread earlier on today to the group. So there are some numbers of party officials that are there. I haven't checked the numbers myself, but I got it from a verifiable source, at least the person online. So yeah, I guess from there we'll just keep going forward. But then, so Chojo, what's your idea on issue of management? Because we kind of need to be able to now set that management structure up and then have specific goals that we want to be able to achieve on our own as a group. And then that's when you will now start to know whether the what needs to be funded and what not, and the conversation will go on from there.
Yeah, just before I move on to the management conversation, let me just touch on the idea of structure. You know, the structure conversation, like Nonso said, is very important. And it's a thing where the Labour Party is, you know, they never expected it, but it landed on them. And they seem to be the party that is to be used here. Nonso, if I can suggest something, is it possible that you can kind of like stay on top of that for us? I know you're the one that shared the link with me earlier this afternoon. I did reach out to contact for FCT. However, the gentleman was first of all unreachable, and afterwards his number was busy, and he hasn't been available since then. So if you can please help us just keep, stay on top of that, and then maybe we can have another action point where maybe we can see how to visit the headquarters of their party here in Abuja to ensure that at the very least we are in conversation with their headquarters, and we can be speaking with somebody there, whilst we also look for other unorthodox method to reach out to them. On the conversation around management, I think that the management of any organization is very important, and it's what basically helps yield the results. And in terms of management, I was hoping to get ideas from members in the team. What I've simply thought about management is that we would basically have specific people functioning within the organizational level. You know how you normally have like a director or a managing director and all of that, and then you have directorates of different specific things. For now, I have simply listed the directorates, which I highlighted on the screen. What I wanted to say was that, are there areas of interest that people have in the group so that we can start to highlight those interests? Are there areas where we have not considered so that we can make a note of them? And are there areas that people are directly, would I say, engaged in their daily work and can contribute to the group to enable that happen? So for example, if let's say you are a software developer and you can assist us with maybe websites and also ensuring that we have congruent information on the website as it relates to anything regarding this particular agenda. Maybe you might be able to help us in the area of volunteering to be like a website designer for the organization. Maybe you are good with maybe advocacy and publicity and PR related matters. Perhaps we can have a structure around that where you can then be engaging on things like radio stations and all of that, and we can then know what we need to fund in that area. But all in all, this initial meet is just for us to brainstorm and to highlight all of the issues, all of the conversations, all of the things that we need to be aware of, so that when we then meet subsequently or when we communicate subsequently, we now have a much more structured or direct approach to resolving this. So, Nonso, to answer you directly, I've not thought of anything specific as to the management of it. I've only thought to share the idea and then to solicit the support of friends and associates like yourself on what we should do and what the action points should be. So far, we just have one action point, which is basically to go to the Labour Party office and for us to align ourselves with the Labour Party and their own activities. So I'm open to any suggestions as regards the management structure of this and what people would ideally love to see.
Okay, for me, no idea comes to mind immediately, but within the week, I will make my own suggestions.
Okay, duly noted. Any other suggestions regarding management, guys?
I'm
Hello,
just,
welcome, guys. People are a bit mute,
I'm
so please
basically just
engage.
looking
Okay, it
because
seems
I'm
there's no people.
thinking,
Yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
please.
I was thinking that even if we set up like a management system, we don't want it to overlap when we actually get the actual management system for the Labour Party. So I'd rather channel my energy into researching and actually looking for the party so that whatever we would make for our own, we can attach to the system that is already on ground. Because if we form something, it might be over standard or under standard. We would not know where to be at if we actually have a management system for this group. So because it's like making like 10 flyers for the same group without anybody knowing each other. So even if we say, okay, I'm going to engage a student or something, and then I put up a video and say, okay, this is people going to vote for Peter Obi, and the party doesn't know who I am, and I tell you I'm running a cause for your party, it doesn't make sense to so many people. So I'd rather just for the week go straight to looking for the party and initiatives that actually is going to work for the party. So we're not running in circles and doing things on our own, because eventually it will look like you're working on your own if you don't look for the right people on time.
Yeah,
So
that
that
makes
time,
sense.
so you are time managing instead of time wasting. You're managing your time so that you just go straight to the point.
Yeah, I do agree. You know, a lot of this hinges on the validating ourselves with the Labour Party in itself, and I think that this
Mm-hmm.
week, most likely, that should be the major thing we should try to resolve to align
Right,
ourselves as an approved support group of the Labour
right.
Party, and that then sort of like gives us a sense of belonging and also how we can structure the organization.
Yeah, you
But
get the
just
hashtag
yeah,
right, you get the name right, you get the locations right, you get the team of the day. Like you're talking about like the NSARS that just happened and how young people are just uniting. So for me personally, I'm I always say this, I'm not choosing APC or PDP for any election. I feel like they're just going overboard these days. So something else, anything else, anyone else should be supported, be given a chance basically. So it's not going to be the same circle of people. So say Peter Obi win, for example, and then the whole seat is going to change. The appointment style is going to change. The entire system is going to change. Somewhat, it is actually the actual change is going to be exhibited, whether they like it or not. They have to unseat so many things and reseat people. So cabals are going to change. People are going to start dumping parties to jump on a new party that has just been accepted. So I don't know if Labour Party has won in an election, let's say the local government or a council or something.
They've
For
had a
me,
governor before.
they have a governor.
They've had a governor.
They've had a
Um,
governor.
yes, in the southwest, Mimiko.
Okay.
Mimiko
So,
won. I've forgotten the name of the state now. Either Oshun or you're one of the states as Labour Party candidates.
representative. All right.
Mm.
So, because a lot of these contestants usually move from party to party, and it is guys to actually get a ticket to get to where they want to go to by all means possible. So, you
So,
just want to
so
make sure that they are not in disguise.
mm.
Tickets.
So
Because you can
Chojo,
still have crazy.
when do we
yeah, go ahead.
reach out to the party locally here so that we can start looking at how to, first of all, verify our group and then start getting concrete information so that we can know what our own steps will be.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that by Wednesday, do is that I would keep up with what else. Hello, guys, are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, what I'll still
I
do
can
is
hear
that
you.
I'll keep up with the phone number, which you shared with me earlier and so, till it picks up. And then also, I think going to the office and also keeping up with this guy would point us in the right direction, because that part hinges on a lot of things. If we get that right, I think every other thing would follow through. And it would sort out this issue of account management as well, because it would seem that the structure would just be that we would definitely have a contact person that is the direct link to the party, and that information will just feed through. So we may not necessarily need to have a complicated management team. Is that the focus will now then be on the directorates and also ensuring that we provide voter support, which I think should be the next conversation as to what we should do first. I don't know if you guys agree. If you can discuss the directorates and what these directorates will be doing, and also who will be interested in manning these directorates.
Hi guys.
Sorry,
Yeah,
let me go on.
welcome.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say before we go into the details, something came to mind, being that besides the presidency, there's other important seats up for grabs. So in the situation where we have built out a structure of voters, we should be able to leverage those votes to get in the right candidates into other seats, because like the presidency is actually the hardest seat to influence. So maybe we should discuss some philosophies, so to say, of like our shared values, so that what we're doing goes beyond one person or one outcome. And in the event of Peter Obi being taken out of the game for any reason, like everything does not just fragment. So yeah, my thoughts would just be how can we think about think about the bigger picture of all the seats at stake, while also knowing that this is the main objective of what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Amy, for that contribution. I think that's very valuable. Because I can imagine a case of having Peter Obi as the president and then down to the entire system. It's all rather with the APC and the PDP. That could be a very
Exactly.
difficult
So
system. So
that's
I
why I was
think,
asking for the local level or constituency level or state level. They have those seats are like basically not talked about, but those are important seats. Presidency is not as important as getting the other little seats that actually target the people, because the goal is to change for the people. So those tiny seats that people don't talk about are the most important seats, but nobody's getting tickets to them.
yeah, I
So
mean, this
that's
is
why I
very
was
actually
asking.
very valid. This is very
That's,
valid. Sorry to cut in, Cynthia.
no, it's
This is
okay.
very
It's okay.
I think a few months back, if not a month back now, the federal government actually won a lawsuit that permitted direct allocation to the local governments. What that means now is that local governments will be getting directly from source whatever is allocated to them. And so the local government chairman would actually be, would I say, some of the critical stakeholders in our polity going forward. But yes, this is actually very germane and it's something that we have not thought about. My only issue with it is that, the idea of voting for Peter Obi has never been a campaign for the Labour Party. And I recall I was also having a conversation around this with Nonso at the time that for me, I think the promotion should be the promotion for the candidates. But he did make a very good point that you cannot have one without the other. And so ultimately, you kind of also have to campaign for the party, because the party in itself is what the candidates, the vote is for the party, apparently. It's not for the candidate, according to Nigerian legal system. So there's a need to also actually focus on the party structure, and also some of these other seats that are available for the taking. If the Labour Party has it, and ultimately Peter Obi is at the helm of that, it will make more sense, and things will go to the go on to the center. Please, Kex Nyamba, go ahead, Kex.
So just like I actually agree with like maybe putting efforts into candidates of similar minds like that. But what I was going to say, the way Nigerian politics is, right? If this is successful and Peter Obi becomes like the president, these politicians will defect and just start jumping on the bandwagon of Labour Party. So if all the effort is actually on Peter Obi and it becomes successful, at the end of the day, they would fall in line. And if he's actually as tough as we believe he is, to make sure like every parastatal government agencies and the likes have credible people, whoever joins from this other party, regardless of how bad or snaky they might be, they would have to be like people of integrity and stuff, like, because he would probably, we believe he should be able to hold people accountable.
Yeah, absolutely do agree. So I guess that what the House wants is that the advocacy should not just be for Peter Obi, but for the Labour Party, as they will say, from top to bottom, right?
Yeah, it has to be for the party, because during I read like an article, and then I was deeply reminded that you're not voting for the personnel, but you're voting for the party that's coming through. Because on election day, you're clicking for the logo. That's why we spoke about the logo change, if it's catchy enough. Because I see people on the logo, I keep wondering about why they came up with that thing, but I feel like it was targeted for the people, basically, like inclusiveness of every individual. That's why they made it the Labour Party, because we are literally the laborers in the country. So the party is channeled to people. So, but it's not bogus enough. People don't understand the logo. People don't know the logo compared to umbrella and broom, which doesn't make sense from beginning. But I mean, people now know umbrella and broom as PDP and APC. You get, so Labour Party had the flag and the brand has to be in their faces all the time. You don't have to even put Peter Obi there. Once you see that other logo standing there, you know there's another person. You just know there's somebody else. You don't even want to know who it is, but there's just someone else there. It usually was a 2-party thing, but now it's basically 3-party thing. So that brand has to be in everybody's face. So without even knowing who is there, you just click on it. That's why they were talking about rebranding.
Yeah. So if I may, what Nimi said is very interesting. Actually, we need to actually educate ourselves about the other candidates that are under the Labour Party. But I feel like with the amount of power that the presidency wields, if you have somebody good enough at the top, it kind of puts everybody whips everybody into line, kind of, So we can educate ourselves about those guys, and then it will just kind of help build up, the push for Labour Party as it were. But if I may backtrack, Chojo, I'll be available to go with you on Wednesday, so that we can see how we can meet up with any party executive or whatever.
Okay, absolutely fine. So we can do that on Wednesday. I'll reach out to you after the meet, and then we'll just schedule some time. So I have Nimi, K, Nanya, and Dance, and David. So Nimi, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to elaborate on what I said earlier a bit. That the way I think of it is beyond candidate, is beyond party, and is more like for all of us that are supporting Peter Obi, there's an underlying reason why we are doing that. And I feel like that reason is actually the most powerful thing about what we're doing here. And for me, the way I think of it is this: I want to vote for Peter Obi because he's the most competent option, and for any seat I see, I want to vote for the most competent option, irrespective of the party they're coming under. Um, I know that may make forming a movement a bit harder, but I think it makes us more effective because this game can be very unforgiving. Already we're seeing how a little money is already having Labour Party running around in circles, bringing up multiple candidates. And the truth is the Labour Party is still an old generation party. So while we may have good plans and hope that we can plug into what they're doing, we also have to be open to the possibility that the party is just as broken as all the other parties we're running away from. So I don't know, maybe at some point we need to do a survey where we can actually come up with a template for who, like, I don't know, but like something that can apply across board, that is not tied to candidate or party, just because those two can disappoint at any point.
Okay, noteworthy contributions, Nimi. So if I understand you, what you'd like is for us to have a template on how to select the candidate to support, regardless of party.
Yeah,
right?
so basically a philosophy behind what we're doing, like what is our shared value that brought us here in the first place. I think if we can identify that, then it will be easier for us to weather any storm that comes, because like as much as we want this, it's very easy for Peter Obi or for Labour Party to be taken out of the game using any number of tactics. So, but we need an idea that holds this group together. And I guess it's an idea of Nigeria, or of the values that we need to see in our leaders.
Okay, perfect. I've just noted that down. I think someone raised their hand a moment ago. I think it was Gabriel Kalunta. Gabriel, are you with us? Hello, Gabriel. Okay, I think we lost Gabriel there. I thought he wanted to make a contribution. But Nimi, just to get clarity one more time. So it is a template for the shared value system that we have, and also for evaluating who we need to support. What that might mean is that the movement might no longer just be a vote for Peter Obi movement, but it needs to be a neutral movement that is neutral regardless of party. And if we're doing that, it will change the dynamics of what we have. But it's something that I believe that we can explore, because that is what the movement ideally actually needs to be. It shouldn't be aligned to a particular party or a particular movement. I think Gabriel raised his hand first. So Gabriel, please, you can go ahead and speak.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yeah. So I just want to make a comment to what to Nimi's contribution. At this point now, for me, I feel that Labour Party should be a platform that will define Nigeria politics, like give a new dimension of Nigeria politics. Because yes, we are going after competency, but already PDP and APC are getting it. That platform to even get a competent person is more difficult. Reason because now, like for example, now you saw what happened during the primaries. You saw what happened. It's not as if they don't have competent people, but because their party is already spoiled. You get it's already is spoiled, and it's kind of, so you can only get, even if you're a competent person from that party, because of the people that's involved in that party, you won't do anything. You won't do anything because they'll make you that will go against your rule and principle. So for me, I think we should make Labour Party a party for the people, where we can choose people that will come out for posts, that will come out to contest for different posts based on a kind of rules, or probably kind of rules that we have set in the party. So that what I'm trying to say is that, like, let's make Labour Party a party where we can actually define Nigeria politics, give it what a new dimension. Because for me, other parties are nothing to write home about. Those parties are corrupt. So we can only get competent people that can stand up against their own party. So for me, I think we should just make Labour Party our party, and party for the people, and we can actually redefine Nigeria politics through this party. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. Very wonderful contributions. I think what Gabriel wants is for us to basically align ourselves to make sure the Labour Party is the platform for basically redefining Nigerian politics in general. But if I'm to add something to that, in my own personal experience, I've met good people from the PDP, I've met good people from the APC, I've met good people from the ADC, from other parties. It's just a thing where, of course, there are different cadre of people in all these different parties, and oftentimes you would hear people say, out of every 12 there's a Judas. It's just a case of in the Nigerian circumstances, out of every 12, 11 are the Judas, one is the right person. But yes, I do understand what you mean. There actually needs to be a genuine platform that is the platform of choice for when you're talking about transparency, accountability, and really the right type of candidate that we want to see. I think Cynthia actually raised her hands before, but I don't know if she still wants to make a note.
Oh yeah, I did. It's because of what Nimi and what Gabriel was talking about when he was saying competency of the person regardless of the party. So that's what I was saying. Like, in a disguise to join the ruling party, crazies now joining. Do you get? So when it comes to competency, we have to know that the financial officer is a financial officer indeed. You know finance, you know the nitty-gritty of how to get the country out of the slum that it is in. And if you're talking about a developer, the person actually knows what housing means. To you have to know your job. You cannot be offering a job of commissioner of education and you're an illiterate. It doesn't make sense. That's why education has literally no funds. So it's the competency part is you can be in PDP, but you have been suppressed the entire time. If Peter assumes office, he can say, okay, this guy in PDP party can become the commissioner of education because he's actually intellectual, not because it's not going to be a fight for my party members will be in party. That's what PDP and APC have been doing. You don't want to be doing that as well. You cannot be giving an appointment to people that don't matter because they've been in your party and they've been giving you money for it. You have to know your job. So it's the part of, okay, Labour Party can be structured. There are many people out there, like you said, that have been doing this job, but they've not been given the opportunity. But they are in other parties just because it's the ruling party. So we have to highlight that as well. So maybe like Mimi supported to say, we should get competent rulers in all walks of life, like going to the local government and saying, okay, this person is in this position, we support this person. It's going to be really bogus, it's going to be really crazy, but eventually, if we really start small and tactful, we're going to get there eventually. So if Peter wins, all well and good, we can point and we can make suggestions. That is now where getting to the center makes sense. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, that's the secret, to start small and really scale as quick as possible. The reality here is that we have barely, to be honest, barely 6 months in my own calculation. I know people think we have more time than that, but if you think about it, the critical time is going to be 6 months before that actual voting day. I don't know if Gabriel, you wanted to say something else. I saw you raised your hand, but I would like us to actually move on to other matters, especially the directorates. Any other contributions before we move to the directorates? All right. So regarding the directorates and the voter supports, my thinking is that we have to have specific people manning this, regardless of whatever we discuss with the party, as well as regardless of whatever we decide in terms of management and everything else. we need to start gearing our minds to having a committed set of people that would look at each of these directorates and truly man them on behalf of the movement. As it stands, it would seem like we don't exactly know how the movement is going to go till we basically speak with the party this coming week. But I also want to see a case where we can start to get some level of commitment from some persons that may be interested in managing some of these directorates. We have a total of 7 directorates at this time, and the directorates include marketing, awareness and publicity, community engagement, student engagement, entrepreneurs, traders and business owners, women, minority groups, and people with disabilities, the volunteers directorate, which also has specific subcategories for regional volunteers, state volunteers, local government and polling unit volunteers, and the last one being the funding directorate. I'm not sure if anyone has thought about any of these directorates, or anyone has thought about what interests them in any of these, because I would actually like a case where we have specific people coming up with ideas and implementing these ideas as to how we can engage with the voter during this period. Any thoughts, guys? Yeah, please go ahead, Nonso. Go ahead.
Okay, so you're asking for us to volunteer, right?
Yeah, I would like. I mean, I'm just the convener of all of this. I would like to hope that everybody in this meet has taken out time to hear what this is about and also to commit in some way to something here. And I think the early birds, the early guys that enable us to form all of these things would also be playing critical parts in the execution of this agenda. And so I would like it where from now we start to discuss that, so that if people are not thinking about it, at least they start to think about it. And there might be 1 or 2 persons here who might have experience in any of these areas. I wouldn't say I have experience in all of the areas, but there are 1 or 2 things I can contribute to. And so if you feel your contributions will be very impactful in any of these things, I would actually like us to discuss these areas and also see how we can partner together on this.
Okay, so me, I'm an entrepreneur, so I think I will just stay in my lane. I volunteer to be part of the team for entrepreneurs, traders, and business owners.
Oh, wow. Round of applause for him, guys. We have our first volunteer. You know, this is a very notable and remarkable moment. It's a very notable moment in the annals of history. This moment will be recognized as the moment where you know so declare your intention to be there.
You will see my poster very soon.
Very soon. But yeah, so we have a taker for the entrepreneurs, traders, and business owners directorate. I think we might have a second taker. I have Kex, then you have raising his hand. Please, Kex, go ahead.
Yeah, so mine is more like a question. Like when we speak about marketing awareness and publicity, are we kind of talking about boots on ground, or even like true? Because most of these have to do with I guess where you're actually based on. Because me, I have a lot of constraint in terms of like boots on ground and stuff like that. So like with that, right? I feel in terms of like publicity and stuff like that, I'm happy to plug into one of that, as long as it doesn't require boots on ground. Then for funding, you talked about like creative like ways of generating funds and stuff. I would just want to be in and around that conversation, just to even like hear what like people that will be part of that will have to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Kex. Yeah, let me talk about the marketing and awareness and publicity side. The directorate is kind of like the director of affairs as regards that matter, and they are kind of like the most senior volunteer, if I may use that term, or a member of the management team that oversees that. And I can envision that would entail a number of things, typically new media as well as traditional media. So in the new media section, you would most likely have volunteers that will be handling things like maybe social media for us, ensuring that we're posting on social media and all of that. And they like the social media from Facebook to Instagram to LinkedIn to literally any social media platform we can lay our hands on. There'll also be those that would consider things that are more traditional. So from radio to TV to even door-to-door or house-to-house campaigns, literally boots on the ground, like you've said, engaging with the society. Someone said an idea with me earlier on. Can we have would I say makeshift booths? You know how you have these conference booths positioned in places like Wuse markets, positioned in Gariki markets, that are literally engaging with the communities and speaking to them and talking about the candidacy of Peter Obi in these areas. And if you look at places like the US and the UK, they actually have things like that where they kind of like have a small setup, a table, and actually speaking to the citizenry in that local community and all of that. So that is what I believe that whoever will be championing or directing the marketing awareness and publicity parts will take charge of. So they would basically be overseeing that entire gamut of things, including any other ideas and things that they have. And if it's a case where you would like to lead that, obviously it's a would welcome you to do that. If it's a case where you would like to be the volunteers under whoever is leading that as well, then we would like to entertain those conversations. Regarding the funding side of things, what I want is someone who is dedicated to looking for funding to execute whatever it is we want to do. Of course, for marketing, for example, there are some aspects that in quotes can be free, or there's no cost to it. But the aspect that obviously you need to spend marketing dollars to fulfill or to meet, and in those sort of things, you need to have the money to do it. So someone that will be dedicated to looking for funds, engaging with whether sponsors, people that are interested in donating or whatever it is, that's whoever is in charge of that directorate to be. That directorate will also have other volunteers under them that will be dedicated to specific ways of getting funds, whether they want to get funds through maybe cryptocurrency or new ways of getting funds, or even want to speak to people that are high up in society that believe in the movement. However they want, there's going to be somebody in that directory that is specific to funding. The volunteers section is mainly just ensuring that we have enough people to volunteer to be part of the team in itself, and that would include things like any task really that needs to be done. We might need someone that maybe might be doing some documentation, minutes of meeting, letters, or all of that. But the volunteer directorate is more like the HR. Think of it like the HR of an organization. They handle all the recruitment, getting the right people to volunteer, getting them registered on the platform, getting their contact so that we can keep in touch with them, creating groups and subgroups to engage with them, to train them if we need them to execute some tasks. I don't know if that makes sense in any way, Kex.
Yeah, it does. And as you said, for most of these, right, I would want, if someone is in charge, I can just be there to like support and stuff, because to be honest, I would not be able to drive like anything, but I would be
Okay.
100% willing to like give my support like from the back.
Okay, so you like to be a volunteer under the marketing or the funding one?
Yeah, I think more for marketing, I think.
More for marketing, okay. I'll just note that down. Gabriel raised his hand. Gabriel, how are you? Are you with me?
Yeah, I would like to also be a volunteer for marketing awareness and publicity.
Okay, you want to be a volunteer under marketing, not the head of the
Yeah.
directorate, right?
Yes, volunteer. So yeah.
You're on mute, Sergio.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, Gabriel, I was asking if you're in the group.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll reach out to you later to see how we can take that further. Any other person interested in heading any of these directorates or leading the charge in any of these areas? I mean, it mustn't be now. It's something you can think about, and we can come back to that at a later time. But if I can get some off-takers this first meet, it would be lovely.
I can talk and write, but so that would be publicity. Why are you laughing in here? They want to knock you it.
No, I know you can talk and write, so no problem.
I can talk and write.
Okay. So
Well,
you're
yeah.
volunteering, or you want to head the directorate?
Oh, volunteer. Or you know me, I'm always on the move. So whatever I
All
can
right,
do, offline or
All right.
online,
Duly noted.
rather.
All right,
Yeah.
now. Emmanuel, please, you can go ahead, Emmanuel Berepele.
All right. I'll be volunteering for publicity, not heading actually, just volunteering.
Okay, publicity. All right. Thank you very much for that, Emmanuel. And we have Felix Arome. Felix, how are
Together.
you? Oh,
And that would be
Emmanuel. Hello, Felix. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. So I just joined. Also seeing it on Adejo's page. So I had to listen in, but I think within the short period I've been able to get a little information from what you said. I'm currently listening with three other brothers of mine. My siblings were in the car, and two of them are based in Jos Plateau State, so they are willing to be part of the publicity for Jos Plateau State. So maybe much later we could have them added as volunteers. So, but I'm in Abuja, so I'll think of which other way. Though I'm an entrepreneur, but I'll think of which other way I want to be part of the volunteer.
Okay, thank you very much, Felix Arome. Please, I don't know if you are in the group. If you're not in the group, I'll share the link to the group so that you can please join the group or pop your number in there. And what I'll do is that I'll reach out to you and also the two other persons who are interested in joining the
All
group.
right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. It's remarkable to have your support. Any other contributions, guys? Anyone interested in any of this? Emmanuel, your hands are raised. Any additional?
Sorry, bro. No additional stuff.
Jojo, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm trying to look for the link to the group. If anybody has a link to the group, please just copy the link and pop it up in the in-call message section. All right. So far, we have a number of volunteers. I don't think we have leaders of the directorates except one. Nonso has volunteered to be to lead the entrepreneur, trader, and business owners directorates. What I've done is I've noted people that are interested in volunteering at the different levels, and I would have a conversation with you as the week goes on. And this is 2 minutes to 9 o'clock, and I just wanted to know if there's anything else we need to discuss, because we promised to make this just an hour long so people can get back to their weekends. Any other business or anything you'd like us to discuss or take note of? All right. So in the absence of none, the other two parts which we haven't discussed is the technology and data component, as well as the process and compliance. I know that these two things are predominantly going to be based off of the results of our action points to go to the headquarters of the Labour Party, and we'll be doing that during the week on Wednesday. Another action point is to basically have a decision on the management structure, and Nonso has also noted his interest to also work on that with me. Another action point is the template for who we need to support and who we can support. This was a suggestion that was brought up by Nimi earlier on, and I'll be speaking with him also, as well as speaking with Cynthia to see how we can have that template so that it is not just a move for Peter Obi alone, but also for the for competent people, not just for any party particularly. And we'll be doing that during the week. I think that in the absence of no other business, we can actually call it a day. The recording of this meeting will be shared on the group. Links to it will be shared so that if anyone wants to go through it to review the contents of it, especially for those that didn't join in time, can also go through it as well. Someone is raising their hands. Please go ahead. Okay, I think that was an error. So I think there's nothing else to discuss. And that brings us to the end of this meet. I must thank everyone for attending. Thank you very much, Ade. Thank you, Benita. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, David. Thank you, David Chu, Emmanuel Adejo, Emmanuel Berepele, sorry, Felix Arome, Gabriel, Kex, Nonso, Rosemary. It's amazing to have you guys here and also to get your support. I must really, really thank you for your time. And this is exactly 9 o'clock. Do have a good night and a wonderful weekend rest. Okay. Bye.
Thank
So
you.
much, guys. Have a good night. Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Night.